I'd like to call to order the council meeting of December 2nd. And if the clerk could please read the roll.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Councilmember Garza. Here. Councilmember Hussein. Here. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spatafor. Councilmember Spitzley. Here. Councilmember Washington. Here. Councilmember Wood.
Here.
There are 8 members present at quorum.
All right, at this time, we have our meditation and pledge. Is there anyone that would like someone remembered during the meditation? Seeing none, if we could please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have for your approval the printed council proceedings of November 18th.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for approval of the minutes for November 18th.
Have a motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. I think you were good.
And we are to comments by council members and the city clerk.
Are there council member comments? Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. So my monthly constituent contact meeting is not going to be happening this December, so it'll resume January. It's the second Saturday of every month. That's at 1435 East Miller Road. That's the Fire Station 44. It's from 1 to 3 p.m., second Saturday of the month. We will have Adam Hussein and myself are going to be hosting an MDOT meeting. It's scheduled for Wednesday, December 11th at 5:30 p.m. at the Plumbers and Pipefitters Hall. That's 5405 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. That will be, 5:30 Wednesday, December 11th. So we will have MDOT officials will be there to discuss the M99 project, the scope, where we are and why, and what the next steps are. If anybody's familiar with the construction that happened along MLK this summer. We will have representatives from the administration, the state legislature to discuss the project issues as well as the steps moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hussein, then Councilmember Jackson.
Just very quickly, I wanted to remind folks in the third ward that we will also be recessing for the month of December, but we will be meeting again, what is the second Saturday? January 11th from 10 to 12 noon at 5825 Wise Road. That's the Elfrida Schmidt Southside Community Center, and we meet in the Sandy Allen Room. So we hope you come back rested and rejuvenated and ready to go. And then the other piece is this Thursday, December 5th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m., the Lansing Eaton Neighborhood Organization will be hosting what they're calling their Jingle and Mingle. So this is in place of their monthly neighborhood meeting. So if you're a resident north of Jolly, west of Waverly, all the way up to the river, you are actually part of the Lansing Eaton Neighborhood Organization, and you are invited to come out to the Jingle and Mingle. There will be light refreshments. Again, that's at Wood Creek Achievement Center at 4000 Wood Creek Lane. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson, then Vice President Spatafor.
I wouldn't want to make my colleagues look too bad if I held mine, so I'll also cancel my fourth ward meeting.
That's
No, but I appreciate everybody that came out over the 2 years. We've been at the same place every fourth Saturday at Gregory's, 2510 North MLK. We talk about anything we want, pretty informal, city-related. And we're going to start again in January on the 25th. That's the fourth Saturday for the fourth ward. I'll do a better job of trying to get it on Facebook and everything and getting more people there, but I appreciate everybody that came out. There's a lot to talk about, including the budget that's coming up. That's like one of the biggest things I'm learning as it's year number 3 coming up for us, or myself, and I really appreciate people's input. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Spatafor.
Two things. One, you'll notice I had to change my neckwear from committee of the whole to the council meeting. I lost a bet this year with the mayor. I should have bet on the Ohio State U of M game, though, then we'd be wearing something different. But in full spirit, the mayor's taking my picture, and I'm going to burn this tie after this meeting. But thank you, Mayor Shore, for indulging. And then on a more serious note, I did have a question for the administration. There was an article in the City Pulse this week or last week, I can't remember which, regarding health insurance pools and medications, HIV medications, and difficulties for county employees to get the medication they need for the treatments that they need. And I was wondering how that affects us, because I did say that it did say in the article that we're all part of the same self-insured pool. So wondering if you had that information now or if you need to get back to us on that. But I wanted to bring that up this evening.
I got it.
Samantha?
Council, or Vice President Spatafor. So you are correct. Following the article in the City Pulse, we did look into it, and our prescription plan does exclude, specifically it talked about HIV drugs, and that is something that is excluded by our carrier. However, the city can choose to pay for the drugs if we did have a claim for them. We have not had anyone make a claim, any city employees, for those drugs. And if we did, we would certainly respond accordingly. But we are also looking to, we are reviewing the particular healthcare carrier and looking to do some RFPs in the new year.
Okay, thanks. That's a great answer. Thank you.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate that response, because I also got some calls and some inquiries about that, too. I think that I'm glad that you're going to be issuing an RFP. You know, if, you know, the statement, you know, if somebody asks for it, we'll pay for it, is problematic, and I know you know that. I mean, I certainly don't want to tell my business to someone and ask someone to pay for medication. We should know whether or not it's being covered or not, and so I appreciate you guys looking at that and possibly issuing an RFP so that those coverages. I think also one of the issues, if I recall, is that there are some medications that work better than others, and those medications are not being covered over some cheaper, older medication that are more harsh on the body. And so I think that we need to also look at that too and make sure that we're providing as best of coverage as we can. I understand that pricing is always an issue, and so I appreciate you guys looking at it and going out for RFPs to address it, so thanks.
Okay. Other comments? Seeing Councilmember Hussein.
Sorry, I just thought of this, and I'm sorry to put Mayor Shore on the spot. At November 17th meeting, we talked a little bit about yard waste, and my question during this allotted time was whether or not we were looking to extend the pickup of yard waste that was placed at the curbside. My understanding at the time was that the week of the 25th would be the end of yard waste pickup, and that there was a commitment from the administration that if folks' yard waste was at the curb on their normal trash day pickup, that it would be picked up. We've had some issues, obviously, throughout the city where those have not been picked up. Are we looking at an extension? What is our plan moving forward?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, we are. Apparently, we had not only, as I mentioned last time, our seasonals are no longer on board. We have also had some equipment problems, and we're behind. You know, my yard waste didn't get picked up. So this isn't just, you know, a few people. This is not, it's not good, it's not normal, but, you know, equipment problems and seasonals not being on staff. Now, I guess the positive is that it really hasn't snowed. We did have to salt over the weekend, but it really hasn't snowed, so that's good. We are planning to continue to finish the routes that went past last week, so whatever didn't get picked up will get picked up. You know, I'm hoping that people aren't going to start putting out new stuff because we are past, but we will get to the ones that were put out beforehand, the routes that weren't collected. So our staff is very much we are going to have people continue to pick up for those that have put out at the curb. We're getting the same questions, and the answer is, you know, we're not going out and proactively saying, yes, we're extending, you know, you can put it out again next week or the week after. We just don't have the staff for that. But people who did put it out and they did not get collected through their route, it will get picked up.
Well, I will say, Mr. Mayor, I know the Colonial Village, all through that area. I was in that area today. Many of those had issues. I received Facebook post from the Everett area where there were a number of people that had put it out there. So I think it's really citywide, and anything that we can do to make sure that we get that taken care of before we end up with weather that makes it prohibitive for us to do that.
They're working as hard and as fast as they can. We just need to make sure the equipment doesn't break down again, but they're working hard and fast, and we'll, as we get those questions, we're giving that same answer. Again, we don't want people to think we're extending the normal pickup, but we will get to the ones that haven't been picked up yet.
I do know that or at least I received an email from a constituent in the first ward who talked about the fact that they did call a department and there was confusing messaging. So I think we need to make sure that our message is consistent, whether it's on Facebook, whether they're getting calls, so that everyone's speaking the same language. So I would appreciate any follow-up that we can do with that as well. Councilmember Spitzley, is this on the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then Councilmember Dunbar.
Thank you, Madam President. I thought that this week was the last week.
It's still, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I thought it was the week of the 2nd that was the last
No,
week.
the
So,
last week
Oh, no,
was-
no, last week. Last
Okay.
week was the last normal week in the CART documents.
right, so, because I've been hearing from, and it has been picked up on my road or in Ward 3, which is where I am, but, yeah, I think it's, is there, can people call then, or do you just say, are we just telling people it's gonna be a couple weeks late, or should people call? When should they call? I mean, do you have a date certain?
But if theirs wasn't picked up, if the route wasn't hit yet, if it wasn't picked up, I don't have a date certain. We're hoping to
Okay.
get it this week. I'd rather not extend it much
Right.
further. But again, if the routes aren't picked up, we'll take as long as it takes to pick them up. If they were missed, if their neighbors got picked up and they were missed, then they can call.
Okay.
If their route was taken and they have more leaves and things they want to put out new, then they can bring it to a variety of places where you can legally, bring those. You can bring it, there are a few places, if you call public service, they'll actually know, I can't think of them. Or you can, hold them until we start pickup again in April. We just don't have the personnel to go out and do the routes once again. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Public service will know. Yes. I'm like, do I know? No, not offhand. But public service will know where they haven't gotten to yet.
Okay. Councilmember Dunbar.
This has nothing to do with leaves. But Kathy Toby would get really mad at me if I didn't announce this. So the South Lansing Farmers Market season has ended because the growing season is over. But during the winter months, we have markets on the first Saturdays of every month, and the first Saturday is this coming Saturday, which is December 7th, and it is the holiday market, and there are dozens of local artisans and crafters from all over Lansing, bakers, candlestick makers, literally, that will be there at St. Casimir in the gym, which is at 800 West Barnes. It's from 10 to 2, and again, that's Saturday, December 7th. The South Lansing Farmers Market is having their holiday market. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Go back to Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. And I would just like to take a moment to thank Nikki Bangu, who has been our intern this past term. Tonight's her last council meeting, so
Oh.
wish you all the best in the future. And with that, we are to community event announcements. If anyone in the audience has a community event, you have 1 minute to give us the details.
Good evening. I'm Jim DeLine, and I have an invitation to the community and to council. 1 week from tonight, there will be a town hall meeting at the Capital Area District Library Downtown Branch. This is sponsored by voters, not politicians. The theme of the night is Voters Against Corruption, Hold Government Accountable. What we're going to talk about is how we as voters can work for policies that fight corruption, hold politicians accountable, and bring integrity to state government. Town hall, people are invited to bring their input, and we will also have representatives there to discuss ranked choice voting. Thank you.
And the time again for that?
I'm sorry, I didn't say, did I? It is 6:30 till 7:30. Downtown Library.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim? Pardon? Jim, is there a particular room that it's going to be in?
It doesn't state in the posting, but I believe it will be downstairs in the auditorium in the lower level.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries is going to be taking over the operation of the old city cemetery office and referring to it now as the City Cemetery Courtesy Office. Our first or initial training for volunteers will be on this coming Monday, December 9th, from 7 to 8:30, and then we hope to open on December 16th from 8 to 4 weekdays and possibly Saturday mornings as well. So again, the volunteer training is the 9th at the cemetery office from 7 to 8:30 p.m. If you're interested in being a volunteer there, we would certainly appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other community events? All right, then we are to sign up for public comment on legislative matters. That's the blue form in the back. If you wish to address council, you do need to sign in. And legislative matters that are eligible for this section of public comment are the public hearing, the resolutions listed under the consent agenda, and the ordinances for passage. And we'll be picking that up in just a moment. And we are to the mayor's comments.
Mayor Shore.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a few events coming up this week. Tomorrow night is our next participatory budget meeting.
Mayor, I hate to interrupt you, but can you pull that a little
Closer?
bit closer to you?
All right,
I see
is this
some
better? Gotta like
people
eat the mic.
struggling. Okay, thank you.
All right, sorry about that. I'll start over. We have a variety of events coming up this week. Tomorrow night is our next participatory budget night at 6:30 p.m. at Leo's Lodge on 2525 East Jolly, so in the 2nd Ward. And then we'll do I believe it's our final participatory budget meeting of this year, of this calendar year, on Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall. So that will be one meeting, participatory budget meeting in each ward to gather feedback, thoughts, and comments on the upcoming budget to be presented. And then we'll do 4 more early next year before March, before we present the budget. And then we're also going to be doing a conversation and listening session on Rudder Park. We're doing that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. No, we're doing that Wednesday night at 6 p.m. at the library. Lots of great ideas that have been presented to us over the last few months, and we're looking forward to having that conversation. We also had a great conversation about the pool last week. A lot of great feedback and conversation. The pool at Morris Park, my apologies. So lots of good conversation and feedback and thoughts and ideas at that meeting. I believe Councilman Jackson was there. So I appreciate the public getting involved and sharing their comments and thoughts, understanding our budgetary challenges and providing ideas for solutions. So we look forward to working through all of those issues, and I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we are to public comment on legislative matters, and as I indicated, that includes the consent agenda items, ordinances for passage, and the following public hearing. Number 1, in consideration of an ordinance providing for overnight street parking in primarily residential district, hours of use for overnight street parking application, permitting, and payment rates for overnight street parking.
With that, Councilmember Spitzley, if you'd like to do a brief overview.
Thank you, Madam President. So what we have before us for the public hearing is for annual and temporary permits for overnight parking, permission for street parking between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., allowed through the issuance of annual and temporary permits issued in accordance with the ordinance that's up for public hearing tonight. A person issued a permit under this section shall comply with all the terms and restrictions of the ordinance. Some of the highlights of the ordinance include the applicant will need to provide an explanation for the need to park on a residential street, to park between the hours of 2 to 5.
Councilmember Spitzley,
Ma'am.
Can you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. There are also going to be limits on the number of annual permits and also limits on the number of temporary permits. There will also be provisions in place to make sure that permits cannot be transferred between folks who have applied for a temporary or an annual permit. There are also provisions that will allow that the annual permit be distinguishable from the temporary permit, so that our law enforcement and our parking folks know what's the differences. Enforcement of the parking permits, the temporary and the annual parking permits, will be with the responsibility of the parking enforcement office. And there will be a parking enforcement officer assigned in the evening hours to enforce the ordinance.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, our first speaker is Chris Keck, followed by Cody Shepard.
Good evening. Not sure I signed in the right spot, but I'm sure someone can tell me if I did. My name's Chris Keck. I'm with the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, Local 333. I'll be brief tonight. I'm just here to speak on the Lake Trust Credit Union project. We wanted to convey to the council, we've met with the owners, the developers, and the general contractor at multiple meetings. They sat down with labor, went through the project step by step, answered our questions, and Local 333 believes that they've done their due diligence. And that's why I'm here to ask for your vote to move the project along. It's going to be a great project for the downtown area, for the residents, as well as the local workers who get to build the project. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, and you were in the right place.
Yes. Next, we have Cody Shepard and then Rockwood Shepard.
They're passing.
Passing? Okay. Loretta Stanaway.
I would like to say that I think you guys did a fantastic job with the parking issue. I know it took a lot of meetings, a lot of time, a lot of input from the citizens, a lot of back and forth, but I think what you came up with is a very equitable and fair and reasonable solution. You have my full support, and I think it will go a long way towards resolving a couple other issues, like, for instance, driving home the other day, I saw city workers trying to do leaf removal on my street, on the edges of the street. They were using plows and pickup trucks to dump the leaves into. Not very efficient, not very effective, but it was at least an attempt. So I suppose that was when the equipment was broken down. But I think that the Parks and Rec millage coming up on the ballot in August of the fall of next year, it's never too early to start talking about supporting that, and I do. And I think that one of the issues that it will help resolve is things like the Morris Park pool, the Rudder Park itself, issues like the cemetery office staffing situation. All kinds of things will fall under that purview, and so as time goes on, we'll look at it more closely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last speaker. So with the referral of the public hearing number 1, the parking ordinance.
That will go back to public safety, and they'll be meeting on that on Thursday, the 5th at 3:30.
Okay, and we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Spatafor.
Just everything's coming off today.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
Are we going out of order for the?
Yes, we have some people in the audience that are here for swearing-ins. So the first one that we have is the Development and Planning, and that's the confirmation of appointment for Monty Jackson. Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So as you stated, this is confirmation of appointment for Monty Jackson II as an at-large member of the Planning Board for a term to expire June 30th, 2023. We'll take a look at another appointment tonight. Essentially what happened was the at-large position became vacant. Martha Cerner is actually sliding over to the second ward position, and Monty Jackson, if approved by this body, would become our newest at-large member on the planning board. We had Monty into development and planning today, and I have to say that I personally, and I believe the committee was as well, very impressed with the educational background, with the professional experience. Monty, right now, is a real estate broker. He's an appraiser as well. He has a bachelor's in economics. He's taken graduate course studies, believe it or not, in land use. If you look at the application, he did not originally apply for the planning board, and the reason was that when he applied, there was no position on the planning board. So he was notified that a position had opened up, made a lot of sense to him. He is somebody that is a lifelong resident. He currently is living in the first ward, and he just truly wants to, I guess that's my time, huh? He truly just wants to be engaged and work to move the city forward. So again, a very impressive interview. We look forward to great things for Mr. Monty Jackson. So with that being said, I would move the resolution of confirmation.
Have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Sir, if you could please come down into the well. At this time, we'd like to swear you in.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties as a member of the Planning Board according to the best of my abilities.
And as Mr. Jackson is filling that out and signing, we will move on to general services. Councilmember Washington, this is the appointment of Jeffrey Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe Jeffrey Brown is with us, and he came before General Services this morning. I'm really proud to bring him forward. He has 15 years of community service, which shows his commitment to the community and his desire to serve. His occupational background is social entrepreneur and a financial advisor. He currently serves on the Ingham County Community Health Centers. His entire desire to serve, this was not his first choice, but he is excited to help in this area, and he has been properly vetted. So with that, I would move the appointment of Mr. Jeffrey Brown as the at-large member of the Human Relations and Community Services Board, and the term will expire June 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns? Councilmember Spitzley.
Well, I don't have a concern, but I'm glad that you are here to serve. I wish you would have been able to serve on a different board, but I'm glad you're serving on this board. So again, I think it's a great thing for our city of Lansing people we have a ton of boards and commissions where we need folks to serve, and so I'm glad that you're on this board, so welcome.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I have to disclose a possible conflict. When we were children, Jeffrey and I, we played floor hockey together. He played for Foster Flyers. They were all right. And I borrowed $5 from him, and I didn't get it back to him. He bullied me. Not bullied me. He reminded me a few years later. I tried to offer it as adults, and now he won't accept it. So there is this, duty. I have to disclose that. But I'll still support him because he's a good guy.
All right. Anything else? Councilmember Jackson.
Just very quickly, Mr. Jeffrey Brown knows everybody, so if that was a disqualifier, nobody would be able to vote at this dais. I went to school with Jeffrey, and we were actually in the band together. He was in the wind instruments, and I was in the percussion, but great guy, incredibly engaged. That's why everybody knows who Jeffrey is, because we know the good work that he does in our community. So I appreciate you, and I am fully supportive of this appointment.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Dunbar.
Does he owe you money?
I just wanted to say that we were in prison together, and I figured we should probably say that before I vote, He makes good hooch. Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Washington.
I don't have a problem with Councilmember Dunbar's relationship with you, but I'm questioning if you know Hussein and Jackson.
Okay. With that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Brown, if you could please come forward.
If you want to still.
Well, he didn't leave during some of that, so.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and I will faithfully discharge the duties as a member of the Human Relations and Community Services Board according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Okay, as that paperwork is being signed, I will now go to Vice President Spatafor and the confirmation that you have before you.
There we go. I was looking for public service. Oh, there we go. Tonight, we have a confirmation of Melissa Jeffries to serve as an at-large member of the Board of Review for a term to expire June 30th, 2020. Their first meeting is tomorrow, so we need to get this taken care of and sworn in.
10th.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 10th.
Yeah.
10th, next Tuesday, my bad. Next Tuesday, but we did meet in committee of the whole. Ms. Jeffries is here to answer any questions of the council. We didn't have that opportunity at the committee of the whole, but without any further ado, I will move the resolution to get it on the table.
All right, we have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions for Melissa since she is here in the audience with us? Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. This is actually more of a comment for Melissa. Should you watch the Committee of the Whole, I did mention the other boards you were on and asked if we had a problem with recruiting people for boards. It certainly is not that I'm not supporting you, because I am. I've known Melissa for quite some time, and she is an ever-ready servant, and I will proudly be supporting this.
Are there any other comments? Councilmember Hussein.
Just very quickly, I moved the resolution out of committee of the whole, even with Melissa not being here, and not because there's a meeting on the 10th, and this was kind of an emergency situation, but because I actually met Melissa through the great work she was doing over at Coach Light Commons neighborhood. And so, you know, we forged a friendship from that, but, you know, I've always known Melissa to be an incredibly hard worker. Really supportive of our community, fair, consistent, and possesses integrity. So I think she's a perfect fit for this particular board. And I just wanted to demonstrate my support for her.
All right. Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to comment on Councilmember Washington's question, which I think is a fair one. The answer is yes and no, right? Good political answer. We did have a lot of people who wanted to serve on the Diversity Commission, and Melissa stepped up and was great. She chaired it, and she's still part of it. So no, we didn't have problems recruiting for the Diversity Commission as expected, but for the Board of Review, we have had challenges. People don't request that naturally on their application. When we need people to make sure we have quorum, we contact those who we think would be good, and we mentioned it. Marilyn and my staff mentioned it to Melissa, and she said she'd be interested. So having her step up and be a great and very active member of the Diversity Commission, and then also being willing to serve on this, we don't send a lot of people for two boards, but in this case, she was on one and was very active and was willing to step up where we really needed somebody. So that's that was kind of especially the logic. But I appreciate her willingness to do that, and I agree with your I guess your concern. If we're putting people on two boards, that limits the availability for others. But in this case, we needed somebody, and she stepped up.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Washington.
I would have supported Melissa anyway, but my question was, do we not have enough people asking to be on these boards? But no, I would support her anyway.
All right. With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Melissa, if you could please come up into the well, we'd like to get you sworn in. And we thank you for making the hurried trip over. Thank you.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and I will faithfully discharge the duties as a member of the Board of Review according to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Melissa. That takes us back to the first part of our agenda, which is a development and planning and another confirmation, but Martha's not here, but you can start on that one.
Sure, so this is the confirmation of appointment for Martha Cerna as the second ward member of the planning board. This is for a term to expire June 30th, 2022. This position was vacated by John Shasky. Candidly, ward positions are a little bit more difficult to fill than the at-large position. So I would assume, instead of looking at a reappointment for the at-large position, the administration put forward a proposal for us to actually move forward with her as a second ward member. We did ask her to come in. We don't always ask reappointments to come in. The planning board, in our opinion, is an incredibly, not that all boards aren't, but an incredibly important and active board. They have an active part to play in Act 33 review, comprehensive planning. They're involved in our 6-year CIPs, things of that nature. When we look at SLUs and rezone requests as part of this body, we always discuss what the planning board's recommendation was. So we thought it was important to bring Martha in. We talked quite a bit today about comprehensive planning and where we're at with updating the city's master plan. We talked to Martha a little bit about where she's at with form-based code. And then we really talked about her willingness to get out and to meet people where they're at as part of their, whether that's a neighborhood association meeting or a constituent contact meeting, something of that nature. She is, I believe, Councilmember Garza was satisfied with some of her answers, particularly to the latter. She did demonstrate a willingness to get out and to make sure that she was engaging people, listening and also informing. So on the strength of that, we did move forward with the appointment. Martha Cerner, very quickly, she's a financial analyst with the state of Michigan. She does have a master's degree in business. She has worked on real estate development, construction management, contract management, and she demonstrated a willingness, not a willingness, but a true desire to stay involved. So again, we move forward with the appointment. I would move the resolution to confirm Martha Cerner.
All right, we have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Hussein.
We have before us a resolution objecting to the transfer of unsold tax reverted properties from the Ingham County Treasurer to the City of Lansing. The list is within the resolution. There are 14 properties this year, so this is the annual review of tax reverted properties. After the two, we know that the Ingham County Treasurer's Office is the foreclosing governmental entity within the county, and they are, per state statute, required to hold 2 tax auctions on all tax reverted properties. This year, we were down to 75 tax reverted properties. It was stated in committee today that we were consistently, maybe 5-6 years ago, seeing about 200 annually. So things are improving with that regard. We're excited about that. After those 2 tax sales, we had 14 properties left. We are, as part of this resolution, looking to object to the transfer of all 14 properties. Those will go back to the county. They will rest with the land bank, where they're looking to demolish all 14 properties, all the structures on those sites.
Okay.
So with that being said, I would move the resolution.
All right, we have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? My only question, and I hope that maybe it's something that can be followed up next year. One of the things with the tax reverted properties are, many of them are in brownfields. And part of the whole purpose of making those brownfields was the fact that there would be money that would be utilized from the sale of those properties on neighboring properties by the Ingham County Land Bank. The tax reverted dollars that came back to them, they would use to, maybe they'd rehabbed a house and the house next door needed a roof, they would help with that roof. To my knowledge, that has not happened over the years. And since there is a slowdown in the number of houses, it would be interesting to find out how many of those houses we have in the brownfields and what that tax capture is and how they're utilizing that tax capture. So with that, are there any other concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Hussein.
The next resolution before us, item D, is for the termination of Brownfield Plan Number 45 for the Old Town Temple LLC for property located at the time, 502 East Grand River Avenue. It is now 502 East Cesar E. Chavez Avenue. We had a public hearing on November 17th. We know that this is tied to, in some ways, agenda item E. Essentially, there was a brownfield plan that was approved back in 2009. There was no part of that development that ever was actually executed. No eligible activities were ever executed, no reimbursement occurred. But to make way essentially for brownfield plan number 78, or at least for the consideration of brownfield plan number 78, we have to, it's a process thing, we have to actually retract brownfield plan number 45. We did not receive any, I don't believe, emails of opposition to the retraction, and nobody spoke at the public hearing or as part of the development and planning process in opposition to the termination of this brownfield. So with that being said, I would move the resolution to terminate brownfield plan number 45.
You have a motion before us. Are there any questions? Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. Just for my own understanding, when the brownfield had no activities, nothing happened, does that mean there was no money at all, including administrative fees or anything that was exchanged through anybody?
That's correct, yes.
Other questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of terminating the brownfield say aye. Aye. Pose. Passes unanimously. Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. I'm sorry, the next item before us is brownfield plan number 78. This is for the Temple redevelopment project at 502 East Cesar E. Chavez Avenue. Again, we had a public hearing on November 14th. Very, very quickly, with regards to the development, the Michigan Community Capital purchased this in February. They are planning to add retail and office on the first floor. They want to remove some of the mezzanine and attic space. They want to do 4 floors of infill. There's going to be a attached 2-story garage. With regards to questions that we were getting in development and planning and as part of the public hearing, most of it pertained to, as an example, the apartment makeup. So we did inquire. There are 31 apartments in total. The makeup will be 4 studios at about 363 square feet on average, 21 what they call studio plus apartments at about 524 square feet, 1 bedroom at 606 square feet, and 5 2-bedrooms at 844 square feet. There were also questions regarding price points. Rents range from $750 a month and go up to $1,500 a month. I do believe there was a question from Councilwoman Wood about tax exemption. And so we were able to, I think, Chris Klein and Carl Dorsmore worked this for us, and we appreciate that. It was confirmed that no exemption from paying taxes exists, and so we will be able to collect and then reimburse as this brownfield plan calls for. Total investment is $9 million. The eligible activities pertain to environmental assessment, asbestos and lead surveys, abatement, demo, site prep, public infrastructure improvements, and the preparation and implementation, of the brownfield plan. There's about $2.5 million in eligible activities. Because of the brownfield cap in the state statute of 30 years, they're only looking to, because this is a 30-year plan, they're only looking to capture about $2.1 million. Brownfield contemplates about $2.8 million in new taxes over 30 years, with about $425,000 passing through to local taxing units. This includes 0% interest on loans. It does include contingency, and this would be another question. This would be the first project to be approved under the new UDA that was issued by the mayor on October 1st. I believe I've covered the balance of the questions that we had as part of the public hearing, and so I would move brownfield plan number 78.
All right, we have a motion. Vice President Spatafor.
I apologize if this was answered and asked when I was not here. Does this need a rezoning or anything like that, or is this ready to go if they're?
No, my understanding is this is ready to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Hussein.
All right, so this pertains to brownfield plan number 75, amendment number 1, Capital City Market Brownfield redevelopment project at 636 East Michigan and a portion of 119 South Larch Street. We also had a public hearing on this. We had a very long meeting on November 17th. Essentially, this pertains to a brownfield plan that we approved about a year ago to make way for the 600 block project. At the time, the Gillespie Group acquired a number of properties to try to make that project work. They then came before this body, and we rezoned those properties on the strength of those purchase agreements to G1 Business District. This particular property is one of 3 parcels that makes up Liskey's parking lot. So it was zoned H Light Industrial before we rezoned it to G1 Business District. It was determined that this property was not necessary to make the project move forward. And so Liskey's essentially has retained ownership. As it stands under G1 Business District, the parking lot is a non-conforming use. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. This actually pertains to the amendment to the Brownfield plan.
Right.
This is actually a property that is north of Liskey's, and the amendment pertains to the fact that they now need to purchase this particular property. There's a structure on site. They need to demo that structure, and the reason is that there's some foundation work that needs to happen on that project. Because the original Brownfield plan contained contingency, as so many do, no numbers are actually changing as part of this amendment. And so this really deals with addresses, this really deals with parcels. And so with that being said, I would move the amendment to Brownfield Plan number 75.
All right, we have a motion. Are there any questions? Councilmember Jackson.
Just for the information, can you tell us a little bit about that structure that's on there that plans to be demolished?
And my committee colleagues are here, if I recall correctly, it was used as storage space and things of that nature. It's not an incredibly significant structure, not incredibly costly, but again, there's a little bit of jut out that has to happen with the foundation, and so they have to acquire the property to make that happen.
Is it a person's that is just let it go to, I mean, whose is it?
This is property that is owned by Liskey, so this is north of Liskey's.
Are they okay with that?
Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. That's
So
okay.
I got one more? I do. Okay, so this is Brownfield Plan number 77, 500 block redevelopment project at 501 South Capitol Avenue and 520 South Washington Avenue. We had a public hearing on this October 28th. There was a little bit of holdup in committee. We were a little bit concerned with some of the things that we had heard. This particular developer is, or I should say the owner is moving forward with general contractor being Wheeling Daveco. And we had heard some concerns, particularly as they pertain to the Waypoint project over on Jolly and Dunkel. Maybe some promises that had been made were not promises that were being kept. And so we asked this particular applicant to sit down with local labor. We wanted a representative from the general contractor from Wheeling Daveco to be there. That meeting did take place. We actually had 2 meetings, one without the representative from Wheeling Daveco, and then we had another one actually happen just today. And then we also asked them if it would be possible for them to move forward with a new universal development agreement. There is some enhanced and strengthened language that we were interested in seeing them move forward with. What I'm going to do really quickly is ask, and I don't typically do this, but I am going to ask that Eric Helzer and any representatives from the development team that want to come down into the well. And as I introduce this, Eric, just so you guys are prepared, I just want you to speak to kind of this I don't know what you want to call it, 3-layered added kind of agreement. So not only did we have the new universal development agreement signed, but we also have some added agreements that have been kind of executed between the development team and I'll let you cover that. Let me talk about the project first. Very quickly, the applicant developer, this is the 501 Block LLC and 502 Block LLC. This pertains to 2 parcels that consist of 2.867 acres. The eligibility for a brownfield is due to contamination and obsolescence. The project is a mixed-use, multi-phase, multi-building project. It includes retail and service providers and multifamily residential. This brownfield only pertains to Phase 1, which includes 2 different buildings. One's a rehab project and one's an actual new outlot building. Phase 1, Building 1, this would be 501 South Capitol office, so this is the former Lake Trust office. This would be a renovation project, so it would be converted to mixed-use building with 24,000 square feet of office in commercial space and 4 floors of residential. In terms of residential makeup, there'd be 44 apartments, 4 studios, 28 one-bedrooms, and 12 two-bedrooms. Construction would commence early 2019, and I believe wrap summer of 2021. We didn't discuss that today in committee, but I believe that is what is anticipated. In terms of Building 2, the new building along South Capitol Avenue and West Hillsdale Street, this would bring 116 residential apartments, 12 studios, 71 bedrooms, and 34 two-bedrooms. Rents would range anywhere from $450 to $975. If I'm wrong, you can correct me on that, but that's the notes that I was able to gather. This would include about 3,500 additional square feet of commercial space. Site demo would commence somewhere around September 1st, 2020, and the project would wrap spring of 2022. We won't discuss Phase 2 tonight because, again, this brownfield only contemplates Phase 1. Total investment would be $31.2 million. This is a 19-year plan, but it is capped at 23 years, with the first year of capture, I believe, was 2021. In terms of total taxes captured, you're looking at about $11,024,000, of which $9,798,000 would be reimbursed to the developer. The balance would be sent back to the LBRA, the Michigan BRF, and the Lansing Brownfield Revolving Fund. The eligible activities are demo, lead and asbestos abatement, infrastructure improvement, site prep. This plan does include a 15% contingency. It does include interest on loans, but that's capped at 3%. And there is a 10% pass-through, so new taxes to taxing units would amount in about $2,218,000 over the 19 to 23-year period. What I want you to do just very quickly, and I thought you did a nice job in committee, just discuss very quickly the meeting that you guys had and this added agreement that we've come to. Thank you.
And before you start, Vice President Spatafor, you had a question?
Yeah, you said this is just Phase 1, correct? Yes. Phase 1, and maybe for you all or you, sir, that includes demolition of the outbuilding?
Yes.
That's correct. Okay, thank you.
And in terms of Phase 2, and we won't discuss it tonight, but if Phase 2 was to be a go, we would probably be looking at an amendment to this brownfield plan to include some additional eligible activities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, if you make sure that your mic is on. Okay.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm happy to go over the agreement we reached with labor. One of the things that we wanted to do is basically everything I'm going to explain to you is in addition to the Universal Development Agreement. So what we did is we laid out a 3-step process, and this is for projects. We set a threshold where we would do these added activities, this enhanced piece to the agreement, and that is $425,000. The reason we set that as a limit, anything greater than $425,000, that captures a majority of the trades. It doesn't get us down into the smaller trades where we're issuing $10,000 and $20,000 and $50,000 contracts, and that's very important. The UDA will govern all of those. We'll still be able to comply underneath the Universal Development Agreement for those contracts less than $425,000. The agreement also is for what we call the 501 Block LLC portion of the project. That is the renovation and redevelopment of the Lake Trust building. And so on this, what I'm about to explain to you, those are the two base parameters. So with that, the first step is to do what we call in the pre-bid process. That's our qualifications portion. That qualifications process is important because it's going to define a couple of things that are going to identify some of the concerns that labor had. First and foremost is the experience of the workers that are going to be on site. So specifically for electrical and plumbing, we have a journeyman to apprentice ratio that we have agreed to, which is 1 journeyman for 3 apprentices, and that was an important fact in working with labor. Electric has that by code, and they have some teeth in the law with that, but the plumbing did not. I understand there's legislation that might be working on that or working towards some kind of a journeyman to apprentice ratio, but we're agreeing to meeting that. And there's some teeth with that, and there's some penalties for the contractor and so forth that will be embedded into the contract. So we wanted to make sure that this was a strong enough commitment and a commitment by whoever the awarded contractor was in that particular trade. The other thing related to the qualifications process is we want to make sure that they're financially viable. You know, they're a W-9 taxpayer. We want to get their financials. So we want to make sure that they are a real credible company and operating. Their insurances and their workers' comp certificates and so forth. One of the other factors that we actually added in our final discussions today when we reached an agreement was the company safety program. Safety programs are not always in place with all companies, and so you can tend to get a company that's on site where you might have skilled workers who have high safety standards and are complying while you're working next to workers that don't have those same safety requirements. And so we agreed to have a safety program that and minimum requirements, and that's outlined in our letter agreement with labor. Once we go through that qualifications process, in step 1, we go into what's called step 2, and that's actually the bid period. We didn't elaborate really on anything there. The Universal Development Agreement does a great job in that bid period, and that's really how we captured and embodied in this agreement the UDA. So we'll be complying with the UDA there. Once we go through the actual bid process where we're working with getting those numbers in for the various trades and the various bid packages, we go into what's called the post-bid period, and that's the contractor selection process. In that contractor selection process, we look at their financial ability to complete the work, their safety history. We get a little deeper dive into the safety piece. Successful completion of very similar type projects or like projects, and then the ability to meet schedule. And this, of course, is along with price and other typical factors that you would do in a bidding process. So I'm telling you the enhanced pieces of this. When we're done with that bidding process, what the developer, the owners, and the general contractor will then do is go into a short list, basically. They will go into and identify 2 or 3 of the lowest bidders in each of those bid packages, and this gives them the opportunity to work with those and to work on schedule, to work on value engineering, to work on price, to work on other factors to make the project better. This gives us an opportunity to work with labor at that step in the event that we're not getting what we need locally. We want to hire local. This development team, this project wants to do what it can to hire local. So this is our last opportunity in that step process to interact with labor and interact with those that are administering the Universal Development Agreement. And then ultimately, when that's done and we select the contractor for that particular work area, then we have the compliance issue that's spelled out in the Universal Development Agreement. And then that process will unfold, and we're off to the races. So that gives you a little bit of the summary of what we've been working on the last 2 weeks. And Will Randall here is the project manager with True North Development, and he was throughout the whole process as well in putting this together.
Councilmember Hussein.
Actually, I think Councilman Jackson has a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, have you moved this so that we can?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I would move Brownfield Plan number 77 so that we can
All
have
right.
conversation.
Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I'm sorry for going out of order.
That's okay.
I mean, we just went through this long explanation of what sounds like reasonable requests from labor. And my question is, why wasn't it in the agreement in the first place, and what considerations were, made for you all to, meet and agree?
Sure. And not all projects are alike. The Lake Trust building itself is it's a large, more of a commercial institutional style of a building. The framing, for example, in the building will be interior steel frame. The general workings for electrical and plumbing are going to be at a different level where you would have normal stick construction in a mixed-use type building. This agreement is specific, very specific to the 501 block building, the Lake Trust building. And the development team is committed when we get closer to 30% drawings when they're moving forward with the second building in phase 1. to sit down with labor and have a similar type of an agreement worked out. It'll be similar, but it will be different and will be tailored. As far as why not in the UDA or maybe in future UDAs or whatever, those are project specific. I think that not all projects are alike from a size standpoint. A lot of the brownfields, at least the ones I've worked on, they're not always this large. This is a large brownfield compared to most. Not like Red Cedar large, but comparable to other types of mixed-use buildings and developments. This is a pretty large project. So I think maybe that had a little bit more focus on it for that reason.
Does that answer your question, sir? Okay, Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. Appreciate you guys being here this evening, and I really appreciate you reaching out to labor. I mean, this is hopefully deter some of the fly-by-night contractors out there from bidding on this project, provide the city of Lansing's taxpayers with a good product that they can be all be proud of. So I appreciate you reaching out to labor. I appreciate the extra pieces you put into this project, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you very much.
Other questions? Councilmember Washington.
I just quickly want to say thank you. Excuse me. When we asked you to sit down with labor, you didn't hesitate. Labor didn't hesitate to meet with you. I think it's a good collaboration that we have begun to build in Lansing with labor and business, and I think it's incredibly important. It shouldn't be either or. We're in this together, and I'm really grateful for the mayor for doing the executive order with the UDA for local labor, because that's something we actually worked on for a lot of years. So it's really good to see it come to fruition, and that I know the 8 years I've been on council, we've been working on it, so it was so good to see it happen. And I'm really happy with the new atmosphere that we have with business and labor in this city. And I did ask you if this project would have been financially feasible without the brownfield, and you did say no. And I knew that before I asked the question, but thank you for answering it. Thank you.
Are there other questions? Councilmember Hussein.
Just very quickly, I want to obviously thank the development team. I want to thank Eric Helzer for his accessibility, but I also want to thank my colleagues on development and planning. I don't want to say that development and planning was ever a rubber stamp body. Economic development and planning, the city's administration, and LEAP, they work very, very hard. Kind of behind the curtain, work very hard before this ever is vetted through kind of this legislative process. And we only see, as Mr. Trezise told us a number of weeks ago, we really only see the good projects and the good developments. There are so many that kind of fall by the wayside through that negotiation process. So we know you work incredibly hard, but we do have a process as well. And so I have to say that my my colleagues on this particular committee over the past year have asked really good questions. I think they've demanded answers, and I think a number of times what we've what has been born essentially from those questions in that process are better, stronger agreements. I think that will result in better, stronger projects, and I think in particular the opportunity for local labor to at least have a shot to bid and to hopefully procure some of these contracts. So I just wanted to say thank you to Councilman Washington and Councilman Garza for really being some pretty fantastic committee members this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions or comments? I just have a couple of questions. What was the threshold again?
425,000.
Okay. What is to prohibit you from taking that 425,000 and dividing it up into smaller?
That's a good question.
Yes, it is a good question.
Mm-hmm. Yep, sure. I'm going to let Will answer that. We actually had that question today, and there's no benefit of splitting a contract, but go ahead.
The way that we bid projects, we divide it into categories that are relevant to the particular construction activity that takes place in that category. And so it's a natural thing in this $425,000 that we reached agreement with labor on the threshold was a number that we came up with them. They would rather us focus on larger contracts and really focus on getting those contracts in the hands of local labor than they would us trying to work on the smaller ticket items. So the specific threshold will change from project to project as we get more specific and we get the overall structure and financials available for the next building. That project will be somewhat larger than this project, therefore it will have different thresholds. So each time we look at a project, it takes on a little bit different tone as it relates to the way that these minimums will be assessed.
Okay, maybe I asked my question wrong, so
Okay.
let me ask it a different way. What prohibits you from taking that 425,000 threshold that you have and saying, okay, we're gonna divide it up into 10,000 here and 10,000 there and 10,000 over here, and that never reaching the $425,000 for labor?
Efficiency, one of the project managers was explaining to me, when they have a plumbing contract, okay, they're not gonna go to two different plumbing outfits to have them do the same job and then somehow find a way to subdivide it. Efficiency reasons, liability reasons. You want that one contractor to stand behind that one particular
Okay, that's what
trade.
So it's not practical, I guess, was the best answer.
Yes.
It's not practical to the process.
All right, that's what I was
Yes, sorry about that.
hoping to get to. Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion before us to approve the brownfield for this portion of the development. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen.
We are to the Committee on General Services.
Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. The first thing we have before us is a resolution for the recognition of nonprofit status for One Starfish. One Starfish, Ms. Bass came and she outlined what her nonprofit is. They assist with support to indigenous people in Guatemala for food, education, and medical needs. What this group wants to do is have a bingo night at the Carousel Bingo Hall, and in order to do that, they have to get nonprofit status from us. So with that, I would move the resolution so they can have their bingo fundraiser.
All right, we have a motion before us. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Washington.
Again, thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is community funding request from Friends of Ingham County Parks. This, Mr. Schiniver spoke about the improvements that he would like to do. He has created a disc golf course in this park, and it's really quite nice, and it does get quite a bit of activity. But what he would like to do is it's to help defray the cost for cement disc plates, because right now they're like mud and wood chips, and they're not very useful. They're looking, cement T-pads, that's what they are, and they would like this to be part of the participation of growth at that particular park. And with that, I would move the resolution to approve the community funding for the cement disc pads.
All right, we have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is claim number 1740. This is Lewis Hant in the amount of $3,140 in trash violations at 214 Lathrop Street. This, we had him in and we actually brought him back. The claim had been sent to the committee on October 28th and sent to council with the recommendation of denial, but council referred it back to committee for further discussion and determination because we didn't know if this tree was cut by the Board of Water and Light or not. Mr. Sanford outlined in the staff report the dates of the violation. He noted that their search in September showed that taxes were at one address. Mr. Hamt said that he didn't get the appeal, but apparently there was a problem with him having not changed his address. And anyway, so what happened was this. He came back today. We had communication from the Board of Water and Light. We're still not clear who cut the tree down. So what Mr. Hampt suggested, and we actually, Councilmember Wood was going to make the same suggestion, was that we take this claim of $3,140 and divide it by half. And Kathy, what's half of that?
Not 1570.
Okay, 1570. And to deny 1,570 and grant 1,570. So what we're bringing before you is granting of the claim but denying $1,570.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I still am very troubled by this. And I appreciate that the committee tried to resolve it by with only charging half, but I am still very much troubled by this. If we can't determine who cut the trees, and again, as Councilmember Dunbar said when we were here the last time, there are a number of trees that have been cut by the, oh, let me back up. If these trees are not impeding a right-of-way, a driveway, obscuring a vision from the neighbors, I'm not quite sure why this is our business. That's the first thing. The second thing is, while I appreciate that the action taken by General Services to cut it in half, I still am troubled by the fact that we had our code compliance people go out and pick up brush from some private person's yard. And so for me, I'm going to move an amendment that we grant the claim. I would like to grant the claim in the entire amount. So how do we go about doing that? Mr. Schmidt?
Before you get to that, I think you need a further explanation.
Okay.
First of all, the tenant, his tenant, according to him, talked to one of the people that were cutting trees in the neighborhood, said that there was a tree that was leaning over near their house that she rented and was concerned that the tree was going to fall on the house. So she asked them to take a look at it. They agreed to take a look at it, and she asked them to cut it and told them to put it in the vacant lot. He owns the house and the vacant lot. And so the board didn't have, that was not one of the trees that the board was looking at trimming. They just talked to somebody that was out there with Wright's Tree Service and asked them to take a look at it, and that's what they did. And because his tenant had asked that the tree be put there and didn't notify him, that's why he suggested that we go, cut it in half. And we had agreed with that because it was very convoluted. Councilmember Washington.
And the reason we're saying that it's still unsure if the Board of Water and Light cut it down. The Board of Water and Wright Tree Service did cut it down, but they asked somebody from BWL if Wright's Tree Services had been there, and they said they had no recollection of it during that particular time period. But it was clearly Wright's. The tenant did go and ask them to remove the tree, and they only take away the top portion and not the bottom. So it was really convoluted, and he did take responsibility for the tenant requesting this. And because he didn't have the proper address on file, and because the tenant had requested it, he was actually the one that requested half.
Okay. Councilmember Spitzley, are you? Okay. Councilmember Dunbar.
Okay. I do remember this one. So you have a tenant who asked Wright Tree Service to take down a tree that was leaning toward their house, but the tenant doesn't pay for it. Right Tree takes it down. So my assumption is if Wright took it down, it was within the boundaries of like what the board would have done.
No.
Because if a private person pays for their tree to be taken out, then that private person is responsible for whatever. But if they didn't pay, my assumption is that Wright looked at that as something that the board, even though it wasn't scheduled to be taken down, if looking at it, it looked like it could fall down and damage the house, then the board takes it down. Now, my comment the last time that this came up was not that, that the board necessarily took it down, or that the board was it somehow wasn't his responsibility, because my comment was, the board has taken down many trees in the city and left all the wood in the same manner in that process, and so regardless of whether the board was the one that took it down or not, if the board doesn't get charged for leaving the wood behind, and we don't have grass growing up through it, it's not like a yard violation in that regard. It's not, I don't know, I really don't, I don't understand the charge. I mean, okay, so when you asked me about math earlier, and thank you, like surprising, you jumped in on that. No, Carol, you did. Okay.
I'm not sure why that's surprising.
No, because she called on me. She called on me. But that doesn't matter. But in my regard, like, I wouldn't be doing division, I would be doing subtraction, and I would take the whole darn thing off. That's where I'm at. So, if somebody could help me, like, just understand why.
The explanation that we received from the Board of Water and Light is they were not charged for taking that tree down by Right Service. So they, you know, I have no idea whether she gave them a cup of coffee, what she gave them, but but they decided that they would take down the tree. Councilmember Vice President Spatafor.
Need a minute. So the claimant here has agreed to this
Yes.
50% reduction and is fine with paying half
Yes.
of it. I would like to move the resolution.
You can't, she did.
Well, I want to do it again.
So we have all right, we have a motion and call the question. All those in favor of calling the question, say aye. Aye. Pose? Aye. Okay. The question's been called. All those in favor of reducing the claim by $1,570, with the applicant paying $1,570, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Please, can I, 1, 2, 3, it passes. Thank you. Councilmember Washington.
Okay, the next one we have before us is Claim 1720. This is Ruben Montez for $518, trash violations at 510 North Hayford Avenue. The claimant came before us today, readily admitted that, yes, the trash was there, and yes, it did have to be removed. This was actually the third violation. And frankly, they gave no reason why they wanted to dispute the claim, just the fact that the guy thought it was expensive. I mean, that's all I can tell you.
So you got a motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I move the resolution to deny the claim.
We've got a motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Councilmember Washington.
Okay. Then the next one we have before us is Claim 1737, Colin Smith, 723 Orchard Glen Avenue, in the amount of $2,800. Mr. Sanford noted it was cited on August 27th, and the inspector did make multiple extensions. However, after the end of September, the contractor was contacted and arrived on October 9th, 2019. They had pulled a permit, but their permit expired on December 18th, 2018, and the city did not cite them for working without a permit. Mr. Smith and his father stated they did request one extension, but after that was granted, never heard again from code or even knew about the additional extensions. They added that they had dumpsters on site, and after the citation was issued, they removed 3/4 of the material that they say equaled 80 to 90%. A fourth dumpster was on site when the city contractor arrived. They added that regarding the permits, the inspections were done, but this wasn't a matter of the permits. This was a matter of the trash removal. They said that they could provide video surveillance showing they removed the material. To explain trying to just get to the important things. Mr. Brewer stated it was 16 hours, which is 4 staff for 4 hours, which is why it was so expensive. Ms. Wood noted she understood the claim and had an issue with Eric's Refuge leaving the property when the owner offered to clean the site. That was an issue. The people were on site, they offered to clean it up, and Eric's Refuge said fine, and they left. And anyway, you know, it's kind of problematic. So Mr. Smith stated he was only seeking a claim was for $2,800, even though the amount billed was $3,864. So what we did, based on the materials provided, it was determined that the contractor charged for removing $910 worth of construction material. Therefore, it was recommended a reduction, and asked Mr. Sanford to please find out why Eric's Refuge left the job site. So what the resolution that we're bringing forward is to deny the claim in the amount of $1,890 and grant $910 of that claim. With that, I would move that resolution.
Have a motion. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We already took care of the appointment. Thank you.
We did.
Oh, that's right. We have Reed's machinery.
Okay. Boy, that day was kind of crazy. We were kind of just expecting these to go through general services, and it was like everyone that came forward. What we have before us now, though, is a claim for Reed Machinery at 1723, and it was in the amount of $1,061 in trash violations at South Martin Luther King Jr. The long and the short of it is the property that was cleaned up did not belong to Reed Machinery. We were able to look at the maps that were brought forward, and the property actually belongs to the owners of the Logan Square. So what we did is we brought forth a resolution to grant the claim in its entirety because the people being billed do not own the property that was cleaned.
All right, we have a motion before us to approve the claim. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Sir, we have already had public comment, and so that comes at the beginning of the meeting, which you could have addressed the council at that time. So you were not on the sign-up list at that time.
That's a joke.
Thank you.
Okay, we are to the Committee on Public Safety.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is an order to make safe or demolish for 818 Nip Avenue. This is make safe or demolish for a garage. The SEV value for this is $42,400. The estimated cost of repairs for the garage is $6,350. We are talking about the garage only. We did have a public hearing on November 18th, 2018, at which time the owners did not show, and We had, the demolition board meeting was on July 25th, 2019, at which time they did approve an order for make safe or demolish for 60 days for the unsafe garage only. With that, I will move the resolution.
We have a motion on the resolution. Excuse me, we have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. We have before us an order to make safe or demolish for 819 Cleveland Street. This was brought before us on November 18th, 2019, a public hearing. The owner was not there, if I recall. The SEV information for this facility is $24,500. The estimated cost of repairs is $71,400. This is a burn unit, and if memory serves, they did not have fire insurance for this. With that, I will move the resolution.
And this is for 30 days, correct?
Yep, 30 days, make
All right,
safe,
thank you.
demolish. Yep, thank you.
Are there any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. The final thing before us is an order to make safe or demolish for 3309 Viking Road. It's also the subject of a public hearing on November 18th, 2019. The SEV information, the value is $41,500. It is estimated that it will cost $107,000 to make the necessary repairs. The demolition board met on July 25th, 2019, at which time they did approve a 60-day make safe or demolish. And with that, I move the resolution.
We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
We are to the Committee of the Whole.
Vice President Spatafor.
Thank you, Madam President. The Committee of the Whole met this evening and discussed a resolution pertaining to the Parks and Recreation millage. On August 7th, 1990, the voters originally passed the Parks millage. That was around the time I was picking out my backpack for my first day of kindergarten. But the...
Still wearing a suit.
Made no friends with that one. But we need to go up with a renewal, and we are placing a renewal on the August 4th, 2020 ballot. That is the primary election. Hours between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. on that day to renew one mill for 5 years beginning on July 1st, 2021 on all taxable real and personal property in the city of Lansing for the purpose of operating, maintaining, and providing capital improvements to the city's parks and recreation system. That ballot question will go on that August 4th ballot. There was one change in the committee adding a all-important comma to the legal description of the city. I move the resolution.
Okay. We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Vice President Spatafor.
Okay, we are to ordinances for passage from the Committee on Development and Planning. We have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan, providing for the rezoning of a parcel of real property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, and for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1246.02 of the Code of Ordinances, Z5 2018 136 East Malcolm X Street, and vacant parcel to its west, rezoning from DM4 Residential and J Parking Districts to G1 Business District. It was read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Development and Planning and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So the applicant in this case is Rio Gateway LLC and Funk Zone Investors. We actually have Mr. Jeff Dion and Brent Forsberg here with us tonight, and I'm going to ask them to come down into the well. And the reason is that when we originally took this up, actually, Councilwoman Spitzley was on the committee. This was in December of 2018, last year. We had a public hearing in January. There were a number of concerns that were brought forward as part of the committee process. A number of those concerns also came about with regards to this body's process. We heard some citizen opposition with regards to a few things. And so the request sat, and that was actually the developer actually asked for us to kind of sit so that plans could firm up maybe a little bit. They could take a look at some of the concerns, some of the issues, and a number of those concerns have been answered. One of the concerns, if we go back to development planning last year, and obviously we've since vetted other rezone requests on the strength of purchase agreements, but that was one of the questions. Did this particular group have legal standing? Because what they had in place, still have in place, is a purchase agreement with the county land bank, sorry. There was some citizen opposition, whether that be through emails, calls. There were a couple comments, I believe, as part of the public hearing. There were some concerns with regards to G1 Business District and whether or not that zoning designation would allow for marijuana establishments under our Chapter 1300. Even with the amendments that were approved earlier this year, that concern was satisfied. There is no marijuana establishment type that is allowed under this zoning designation. The only concern that I was not able to completely, kind of get after as part of the committee process was the vagueness concern. And so there was some concern from a few council members regarding the fact that there was, in their opinion, no firm plan with regards to what was going to be proposed for this site moving forward, and that was concerning to them. So I asked Brent and Jeff to be here tonight to maybe address some of the issues and also tell us kind of what's been going on over the past several months. So Brent, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. So since February, when we had last met on this, we've been dealing with some concerns regarding the suitability for foundations on this site. We've also been working through how does the form of the building going to fit on the site, and that's why we're requesting the G1 zoning. When you look at this, you look at the design Lansing plan, this is a corridor, and it's a key piece of property between Rio Town and the downtown business district. So one of the tenements in that document is that this should look like the neighborhood scale zero lot line designs. Under the DM4 zoning that's currently there's a 30-foot setback minimum that would be required for a multifamily use on this property. So using the G1 zoning, it puts it under that almost form-based code type design where it has to be a zero lot line. So no matter what would go there, it would fit into what the city's looking for as far as its design along the Washington corridor. For us, it's important because it forms a beachhead on the south side of 496. We're actively working on the 600 block of Washington right now with some development going on there, so that will allow a better connection across 496 from Rio Town up to the central business district. As far as plans, the original group that we were working with on the hotel, due to the timing, it hasn't worked out. We are still looking at that as potential use, but we are committed to doing something on this. The fallback use would be some type of multifamily, maybe with some supporting commercial if we can make it work after we redo our market studies. The land bank's still committed to work with us on this property, and we feel that with this G1 zoning, it allows for the flexibility of those uses, the neighborhood supporting the multifamily, but also the potential for a hotel there. Our commitment is to do something that connects Rio Town and downtown to really kind of shorten that gap of getting over 496, which is a barrier to walkability down through this area.
Okay. You want to move it, and then we'll ask for questions?
Sure. I would move Z5 2018 for a rezone for 136 East Malcolm X Street and vacant parcel to its east from DM4 residential and J parking districts to G1 business district.
Do we have questions? Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I have just a couple questions. So currently, as it's zoned, you have a 30-foot setback. Is that what you said?
I believe it's 30
Roughly.
feet, roughly, yeah.
So that kind of limits the developability. Is that why one of the reasons why you would want it?
It still allows for the high-density residential use, but what it limits is how that building sits on the lot.
Okay.
So it forces the building back off the corner versus being closer to the street.
Which is kind of how things are these days.
Yes.
If I may, Madam President?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, the G1 business, also allows for multifamily? Because you said if you can't get the hotel structure, you would look to a multifamily with commercial. And the rezoning would allow you to still consider that if Plan A doesn't pan out?
Yes. With the zoning code, it does allow the higher density residential use as a use under the G1 zoning, but it would still have to conform to the 0 lot lines on the property.
Okay, and my final question, Madam President, and so we've discussed that the G1 does not allow for medical marijuana operations at that site, or does it?
It does not. It allows for hotel, motel, multifamily residential, general retail, and office. And I went back in chapter 1300 just to make certain, and it does not.
Okay, and not that, so I don't want to get emails, not that I have a problem with medical marijuana operations, because I don't, but I think that, But what I do like is the long-term plan where you're talking about a hotel or some sort of residential density, and I think that, in my opinion, my humble opinion, works best for that, which is why I was asking the question. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Councilmember Jackson and then Councilmember Washington.
Thank you. This is more of a comment. So this is the only project that doesn't have, we don't know what it is, but we're supporting it, and I am glad to support your vision is trying to connect that. I hope it ends up very grand, you know, and I know these are some of the moves you have to make. If the fallback plan happens, I still hope that comes out very nice. As far as that vision connecting there, it's a great idea, so hopefully you guys make it to grand.
Thank you.
Councilmember Washington and Councilmember Hussein.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say what's incredibly important to me, which is why it's important to rezone this to G1 business, is the walkability. You know, we keep talking about walkable and placemaking, and when you have a 0 lot line, it makes for folks that are walking a much more pleasant walk. It's safer, for one thing. We're not looking at cars, and I know I can make a 4 and 5 block walk down Michigan Avenue, and if I'm passing on one side of the street, it's a much quicker walk for me because I have things to look at. And I think people need to understand that this, I know on the east side, this is something we've been fighting for Michigan Avenue, is that 0 lot line and put the parking in the back so you're not looking at that. So thank you for going along with that. And we have to find a way to connect over that 496. I don't know if we're going to end up doing something over the highway at some point, but that is so intrusive. And thanks for trying anyway.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
would love to see some sort of cover in the next decade over top, whether either a linear parkway that some other communities are doing something, is it really is a barrier.
Councilmember Hussein.
I was going to speak to that as well. The only thing I would add is that we did discuss that in committee, that this actually is not maybe as unprecedented as we would like to make it seem up here. We approved, as an example, a rezone for what is now going to be the 500 redevelopment project, but we approved a rezone request on what were pretty vague plans at that time as well. So it's not unprecedented. When you look at the G1 Business District, it was also brought to our attention that most of Old Town is G1 Business District, most of Michigan Avenue is G1 Business District. So kind of what Real Town is and where Real Town is moving in terms of direction, this really does probably make the most sense. So with that being said.
Are there other questions? Seeing none, that's roll call vote.
On passage of the ordinance, Z5 2018, Councilmember Dunbar.
Yep.
Councilmember Garza. Yes. Councilmember Hussein. Yes. Councilmember Jackson. Yes. Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Yes.
Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted.
And because it is a zoning ordinance, it has to sit for 30 days.
Okay, we have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan, providing for the rezone of a parcel of real property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1246.02 of the Code of Ordinances, Z6 2019, parcel 330101, 16428-131, 100 block of South Larch Street from G1 Business District to H Light Industrial District is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Development and Planning and is on the order of immediate passage.
Since I already introduced this under the consent agenda, I would actually move the G1 Business District rezone to H Light Industrial District for the parcel number, I'm sorry, I would move Z6 2019. That's a lot easier to say.
All right, we have a motion before us. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is roll call as well.
On passage of Z6 2019, Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Garza. Yes. Councilmember Hussein. Yes. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spatafor. Yes. Councilmember Spitzley. Yes. Councilmember Washington. Yes. Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted.
Thank you.
And we have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan, providing for the rezoning of a parcel of real property located in the City of Lansing, Michigan, and for the revision of the district maps adopted by Section 1246.02 of the Code of Ordinances. Z7 2019 1310 Knollwood Avenue from F Commercial District to B Residential District is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Development and Planning and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Hussein.
This property actually has a single-family dwelling structure. It has long been a single-family dwelling structure, and because of that reason, has been a non-conforming property for a number of years. The owner is the Walter Brown Estate. They are looking to sell. There are, and we talked a little bit about this at the public hearing, there are monetary restrictions when you're looking at a non-conforming use, and it makes it tough to sell and to make it appealing for such sale. Just as an example, it was explained to us that if there was if this became a fire damage structure, as an example, and the damage was more than 50%, they could not build this back as a single-family dwelling because it is a non-conforming use. So what we are trying to essentially do is bring the use in compliance with our zoning ordinance. In terms of the master plan, it was explained to us that the master plan actually calls for residential corridor for this area. So it was the zoning administrator's opinion that the F commercial actually would allow for uses that run in direct conflict with the master plan. This would not be a spot zone. There are a number of adjacent properties there, be residential as well. So with that being said, I would move Z7 2019.
I have a motion. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this is also a roll call.
On adoption of Z7 2019, Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley. Yes. Councilmember Washington.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted. Next, we have an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend the Lansing Codified Ordinances by amending Chapter 288, Sections 288.10 and 288.14, and adding 288.20 to correct the names of various city departments and specify the minimum requirements for the director of each department is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on General Services and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. As the clerk mentioned, this is to amend Chapter 288 to correct the names of various city departments. When we have a change in administration, we have a change in structure. So this is basically a housekeeping matter, just bringing the titles into what they are currently and to add the Director of Neighborhoods and Citizen Engagement. We've actually worked through this in regard to 288.20, Director of Neighborhoods and Citizen Engagement. This has been agreed to by the Director of Neighborhood Citizen Engagement and the Mayor and the City Attorney and the committee. Other than those, that one, like I said, the rest are just a few name changes. So with that, I would move the ordinance to amend Chapter 288, and I would ask for immediate passage.
All right, we have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? This is a roll call.
On passage of the ordinance, Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Garza. Yes. Councilmember Hussein. Councilmember Jackson. Yes. Councilmember Spatafor. Yes. Councilmember Spitzley. Yes. Councilmember Washington. Yes. Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is adopted.
And we have a motion for immediate effect. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. That's the yellow sign-in sheet in the back, and we'll be collecting that in just a moment. So need to jump up if you want to sign in. And in the meantime, we are to reports of city officers, boards, and commissions.
Vice President Spatafor.
Madam President, I move that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by you.
We have a motion. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
We have a letter from the city clerk regarding minutes of boards and commissions.
Placed on file.
Letters from the mayor regarding traffic control order 19-015, stop signs on North Cedar at Howe.
Public safety.
Traffic control order 19-002, stop signs on eastbound Hunter and westbound Ridgewood at Hunter and Wildwood.
Public safety.
Traffic control order number 18-023, removing the parking prohibition on the north side of South Genesee Drive from Verlinden to Memphis.
Public safety.
Rescinding traffic control order number 94-028 and 94-029, regulate parking along both sides of Palmer Street from Willard to Dunlap and Rosedale from Almar to Washington.
Public safety.
The appointment of Luciana Solis as an at-large member of the Fire Board.
Public safety.
The reappointment of Marcy Alling as an at-large member of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Development and planning.
The appointment of Melissa Jeffries to the Board of Review that was acted on earlier.
Committee of the Whole and placed on file.
The appointment of James McClurkin as an at-large member of the Historic District Commission.
Development and planning.
And a letter from Lansing Area Economic Partnership regarding Brownfield Plan Status Report List.
Committee of the Whole and Development and Planning.
Okay, we are to remarks by council members.
Councilmember remarks. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I want to just myself apologize for the gentleman that was here to speak on, I don't know, one of the claims. I know it's out of procedure to let him speak, but anybody that comes to speak on one thing and then to be denied, whether it's because he signed up late, which he did, and all those things, I don't know. It just seems like it shouldn't happen. So I just want to apologize for him. He left. And it's not a knock against anybody because I understand procedure and protocol as well. So I just want to say that.
I appreciate your comments, Councilmember Jackson. When he was at the committee, we did stress upon him that to be down here at 7 o'clock to sign up so that he would have an opportunity to speak on this if he so chose. Are there any other council comments? Seeing none.
Okay, remarks by the mayor.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any other comments?
I did forget to commend Councilman Spatafor on his choice of outfit today, especially the tie. Very impressive. That's what you get when you bet, I guess. Sometimes bad things happen. But I will agree with his earlier comments that, yes, he should have bet on the Michigan-Ohio State game or the MSU-Ohio State game. It turns out nobody can beat Ohio State this year. But I do want to wish my Spartan fan friends the best of luck as they take on Duke tomorrow night. If we can all agree on something, and it's not that we don't like Ohio State, it's that we don't like Duke. So good luck to the Spartans against the Blue Devils tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
All right, we are to public comment. The first speaker is Michael Moravsky, followed by Darren Boer.
Michael Moravsky, 1300 Woodbine Avenue. I'm a representative for Area 1, the Colonial Village Neighborhood Association. We've got different species of trees over there in Colonial Village, and they don't dump their leaves all at the same time. Now they have. They've already came by with the street sweeping where they pick up the leaves. What I called public service today, and all I got was a bunch of nebulous talk that They had laid off some of their seasonal workers, so they're still doing it in some areas of the city. But what I ask for is some consideration for Area 1, which the boundaries are Mount Hope to Martin Luther King to Victor to Boston Boulevard. Could they come back and sweep those leaves up? Because if they don't, when we get the snow, which is inevitably going to come, the snowplows will come, they'll put it up on the lawns, and of course it'll kill the grass because it'll sit there for 5 to 6 months. I couldn't get anybody to get back with me. I didn't know you were going to be here. I guess the ball's in your court. If you could give us if you could make that happen, it would be appreciated in just this one area. We can't help it that the trees drop their leaves at different times, but it would be kind of a pain in the butt with the homeowners, with them coming back when the snow plows plow. If you could get someone to call me back on that, it'd be appreciated.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. I tried to call you about it, otherwise, because I didn't really want to come down here, but your mailbox on your phone was full. So
Okay, I'll have to look at that. Thank you.
here I am.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Next is Darren Boer. I apologize if I butchered your name, followed by David Hallett.
Buer, thanks. One of the owners of Vision Tire and Auto. We're at 631 North Pennsylvania Avenue. I received a notice about my sign. We've owned Vision Tire and Auto since 2011. The sign was on the property since before I bought it. One of the attractions to that location was the beautiful digital sign we had. It was purchased a couple years before we bought the business for $35,000. And that was the amount that we paid for it when we purchased the business. One of the cool things that the sign does is it does animations. And so one of my friends actually works for SpaceX, that's irrelevant, but made a couple of custom animations for me with my logo that do some cool things. And apparently you guys passed some sort of sign ordinance that said that I couldn't have like clouds on there. I've got like a beautiful thing that's got clouds on it behind the temperature. There's some clouds that drift. For 4th of July, I have fireworks go off and it says Happy 4th of July. Apparently all that stuff is illegal now. You know, we love being in the city of Lansing, and this is the first issue I've ever had with anything. I just was looking for your comment as to why my sign should not have any cool features, I guess. That's, I guess, my question is why you guys would do that.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll have the chief of, the deputy mayor look into that. I don't believe that's part of a current ordinance that was passed. That might be part of another ordinance that has not been enforced for a while, so.
Yeah, apparently they just hired somebody to enforce it, and they're going up and down the
So,
business district.
We'll have them take a look at it, and I know the city attorney has been looking at the interpretation of the ordinance, so thank you. Yes.
If I can address that for a second, this is the code enforcement officer that we all approved in
Right.
the last budget. Okay, so this is not a new thing. Enforcement of ordinances has always been a requirement. The city is just enforcing ordinances. We can send you we can provide the ordinances to anybody who asks. Our deputy mayor or our city attorney can provide the language in the ordinances to anybody that asks. So anybody that wants to call my office or the city attorney, we can provide that, or it's actually on Municode, which is right on our website. So anybody that wants the ordinance, but we have staff that enforces the ordinance. So thank you.
Yeah, I guess I have a problem with the ordinance.
Okay, and we realize that there have been some concerns and that the director of development and planning is looking at and has been meeting with the city attorney about the interpretation of it and looking at maybe making some revisions to it. So that will come to council. So it is something that we have heard before. So thank you.
Thank you for your consideration, and you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, next we have David Hallett and then Douglas Falk.
Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm down here about the same thing about the sign. I put the sign up probably a year and a half before the ordinance, and by changing that, the investment I made to create that corner there is great. And by you taking that away after the fact, I've lost thousands of dollars, let alone what it also draws in as far as business. It's not intrusive. I've never had a complaint whatsoever. I worked very hard to bring that corner up. You know, I mean, worked very hard. The price we paid is great to get this business where it's at. And we're working every day. We need the assistance to build business and work together as a team. What I've heard tonight, I think you guys are doing a wonderful job, but I think we're missing a few points. And like when this went in, it would have been great to bring some business in and hear their point of views, and let's look at it from all angles. You know, what that is, I don't understand why it was made, but I wasn't there for the meeting and everything, so I understand that.
All right.
But I would like to, but to take that money away from me or our business, it's huge. It's, you know, because we work every day to improve that corner out there, every day. If it's a sweep and if it's adding this, trying to do the cascade work, that money comes hard. We're not wealthy, we're just working every day. Get up every morning, grind every day. And we're just asking for assistance to work through this and not to toss money away, because every dime does matter.
Thank
Excuse me, I'm kind of losing my voice here, and I apologize.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
And I do think you guys are doing a wonderful job, though, so I'm not trying to knock that, because I listened tonight, and I think bringing workers from Lansing in here, that's wonderful. And also, one other idea before I bug you anymore, or before I leave you alone, excuse me, is the one for Walter French, you're having a tough time bringing that together. Wouldn't that be great for a precinct? I think just the gas savings in the travel by the policemen would more than justify the cost.
Okay.
But other than that, good night, and thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. And I know that you said we're trying to work through this, but this example and the other guy, it seems to me they'd be grandfathered, right? If it actually. But if they had the sign before the ordinance was enacted.
Specifically speaks to non-conforming use in signs existing pre-passenger. I'll have legal look it up.
I don't even know why you're even subject to that. You should be grandfathered if it came in exactly as you said, if you had it, and then we pass an ordinance. I don't understand, so I'm glad that legal's looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and once again, have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Douglas Falk and then Loretta Stanaway.
Hi, my name is Douglas Falk. I'm just wondering why, at this present time, the other two fellows have talked about, we've had these signs up for years, and now all of a sudden, we're trying to discuss why they can't have them. I mean, it brings attention to the business, and a lot of businesses commented after the signs have been put up that it does increase their sales, increases their sales. And I don't see where it creates a traffic problem. I think if you look at all the police records for accidents around the city, you probably wouldn't find one that was caused because of electronic message center. Most of them are speeding, talking on their phone, talking on their cell phone, or texting, and not paying attention and running red lights and stoplights. So I really don't think they affect a traffic hazard to the city of Lansing. And I think they bring plenty of businesses into the businesses that do have those electronic signs, and they're getting more and more popular, and they do bring a lot of business and revenue into those businesses. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next we have Loretta Stanaway and then Rebecca Payne.
First off, I want to say I am encouraged by the fact that this administration is open to the transparency of having public meetings to discuss things like the Morris Park pool and the Rudder Park situation. I find that such a refreshing change, and I just hope that it is utilized to its fullest and that those comments that the public make and the input and the suggestions are being listened to and heard and not just kind of bouncing off somebody's ears here and there. There are a lot of different opportunities for resolving the issue with the financial numbers for Morris Park, for the pool. There are a lot of different considerations for Rudder Park, and I think first and foremost there at Rudder in particular, we need to keep our focus on the idea that the parks are for everybody. They are not for a class or category of people. They are not for the homeless. They are not for the workers on their lunch break downtown. They are not for the new residents of the upcoming apartments going in. They are for all of those people. And we can't dissect a park and make it partly this group's and partly that group's. So I just hope you keep that in mind as you look at alternatives and options. Morris Park Pool has been on the city's chopping block for at least 15 years. Back in Murdoch Jemerson's day, it was talked about. The cost estimates were the same, 1.2 million then that they are now. And it is a specious argument to say that we can't do anything with Morris Park Pool at 1.2 million estimated repair costs because that's more than half of the park millage budget. There's nothing that says the repairs of that pool are gonna actually cost that much, first off. Second off, there's nothing that says it has to come out of park millage money entirely or even in part. There are other resources. There's the general fund budget. There's the parks general fund budget. There's the $4-point-some million that just came into the parks accounts from the sales of the 2 golf courses. And there are just a lot of alternatives for ways to finance the funding of that repair. That park and that pool are too essential and integral to that neighborhood to see them go down any further than they have. And that pool is a one-of-a-kind classic that needs to be preserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rebecca Payne and then Stan Shuck.
Hi, thank you very much. About 2 years ago, I applied for consideration on the Board of Water and Lights Governing Board from Ward 3. The mayor has filled that position twice, and this most recent time he told you he had to hunt for a candidate because there were no applications. Well, mine was on file all along. I'm not here because I was snubbed, but because I hope this isn't a dodge to avoid dealing with the issue of climate change. I'm an environmentalist, and I have appeared before the Board of Water and Lights Board and also appeared here before you on the same topic. I've long hoped to move the Board of Water and Light and the city towards reducing fossil fuel use. Several of us from the Lansing Environmental Action Team have delivered a 10-point action plan to the Board of Water and Light and to you last year. I haven't seen a lot of action, any, on that. The Board of Water and Light states that in 2030 they will achieve their goal of 40% clean energy. Well, that uses a baseline from the year 2005 when they were fully operating with coal. Moving from coal to gas is not the change we need. The upstream pollution from fracking for natural gas makes it just as polluting as coal. This 40% goal is the same goal they had in their last IRP 3 years ago. They are not moving forward. Just recently, 7 world-renowned scientists issued a call for action because we're close to major environmental tipping points, after which life as we know it will get progressively harder to maintain. Fires, floods, droughts, mass migrations, and food shortages will lead to millions of deaths. Making the changes must be undertaken by all governments, including this one. The environmental community has asked for a full-time sustainability manager and staff to be appointed for Lansing. This would be a start. If you take the first step, you will find, as many cities have already found, that the results are not as expensive or out of reach as you might think. Often they actually save money in the short term. Many cities can demonstrate that. Always they save money in the long term and lives. I call on you to exhibit strong leadership to move the city toward clean energy. We need this government to act. What will potholes matter when we can no longer get food and when sea level rise requires relocating entire cities? Yesterday, the United Nations President issued a statement urging worldwide immediate action to fight climate change, citing the utterly inadequate efforts of governments. What is lacking is political will, he said. Please, I am asking you to show your political will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Stan Shuck and then Colin Smith.
Good evening, Stan Shuck, South Lansing. I want to run a scenario by you. Say, Andy, say I was going to come over to your house and do some renovations. I'm going to send 6 guys. I'm going to charge 110 hours, $110 an hour for each of those 6 guys. We're going to get it done in one day, on Monday. So Monday comes along, I only send 2 guys. We don't get it done Monday. We don't get it done Tuesday. Hell, we don't get it done until Friday or Saturday. But then when we bill you, we still bill you for 6 employees. There's a simple name for that. That's fraud. And that's what the city of Lansing is doing to the property owners of this city. You're charging us $110 on our property tax. If you haven't been home yet today, it's in your mailbox for recycle and compost. That pays for 6 seasonal employees, 2 for recycle, 4 for compost. You never hired them. You hired 3. 1 got a full-time job almost immediately, was never replaced. So you're running with 2 seasonals in recycling and 0 in composting. 0 in composting. And that's why it's sitting there 16 days a month. 16 days a month. My day is Tuesday. I usually picked up on Friday or Saturday. So literally it sits on my curb 16 days a month through the entire compost season. The whole neighborhood does. Not just me. I mean everybody. It's ridiculous. That is fraud. There's no other word for it. When you charge people for something, and then you have the audacity to raise the fee based on fraud, based on fraudulent costs, based on employees that you've never hired, haven't hired for the last few years. They didn't just lay them off. You got 5 mechanics off at the garage. Is it any wonder things aren't getting filled? You don't have any sweepers that meet safety regulations. They were down half the year. You rented one that was a parking lot sweeper. It wasn't even meant for streets. That went back October 1st. And now you're forcing the operators to wear respirators to work in the antiquated equipment you have because of the dangerous silica dust and exhaust fumes in the equipment. And everybody's wondering why this street isn't clean. That money also pays for 3 complete sweepings of the city, help subsidize it, help subsidize the leaf pushing and the catch basin cleaning. None of it's being done, and you had the audacity to raise our cost on every property owner in the city based on complete fraud.
Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.